Hi guys, hello, welcome to another GCSE Biology video lesson. I'll just share the screen of the lesson with you. Here you go. Hope you're all well. Shame that the weather's gone a bit rubbish now. So the learning question for today is, what is the difference between breathing and respiration? So what I'd like you to do is make sure that you've got a pen and a piece of paper or your notebook, write out the learning question and have a go at this revision question. We've looked at diffusion. We've briefly looked at where diffusion happens in the body. So this is the diffusion of oxygen. So that happens in the lungs. So can you describe the process of the diffusion of oxygen in the body and explain how cells are specialised for it? Okay, so if you can pause the video and do those two things now, so writing the learning question neatly and underlined, writing today's date, and then if you can have a go at that do it now question. Well done. Excellent. So if you can mark your answer to the question, so it's worth 4 marks. So if you can find any of the marks, then just give yourself a tick. All right. So describing the process of diffusion of oxygen in the body and explaining how cells are specialised for this. So oxygen diffuses from the alveoli, so that's the air sacs in the lungs, diffuses from the alveoli into the blood. And it goes from a high concentration to a low concentration. Remember, all diffusion is from high to low concentration. You could say it's a passive process, or you could say it doesn't require any energy to happen. You could say that the alveoli have got a large surface area that aids diffusion. They're also very moist, that aids diffusion. There's a short distance to the blood cells, and that maximises the rate of diffusion. And then the red blood cells carry oxygen around the body. Okay, so if you need to pause it and have a moment, pause this video, have a moment to mark your answer and write any other little notes that you would like to. Well done. So looking at breathing and respiration, breathing is just a mechanical process. So it's just the action of getting air into and out of the lungs. So when we breathe in, our diaphragm, which is the muscle just underneath our lungs, our diaphragm will move outwards and downwards, and the muscles that surround our rib cage, our intercostal muscles, they'll move outwards. So our lungs expand, that draws air into the lungs. And when we exhale, those muscles relax and air is exhaled out of the lungs. So that mechanical process is breathing. Whereas respiration it's a chemical reaction. It's a chemical reaction that absolutely all living organisms, so plants, animals, bacteria, they all use respiration to produce energy so that we can function. So we use it to produce heat, we use it for movement, we use it to carry out other reactions, we use it for active transport, because remember, active transport requires energy. So we need energy for lots and lots of things, and respiration is the chemical reaction that gives us that energy. So it happens inside our cells. And it happens inside this organelle here called the mitochondria. Okay, that's a little bit of revision for you as well. We've looked at cells, we've looked at the function of the mitochondria. So those mitochondria, that's where respiration happens. Okay, so that's the difference between breathing and respiration. It's really important to remember that, because a lot of students get a bit mixed up between breathing and respiration. So this is the equation for respiration. So this side over here, this is what we call the reactants, glucose and oxygen. And then the chemical reaction happens, and the products that are formed are carbon dioxide and water. So what I would like you to do, please, is just write out what's in that red box, that respiration equation. It's one of the most important things that you will need to know in biology, the respiration equation. It's really, really important. So if you can just pause the video, take a moment to write out that equation, please. Brilliant, well done. Okay, now what I'd like you to do is take a look at it on your page. Then I'd like you to cover it up. So use a book or a pencil case or another ruler or another piece of paper to cover it up and try and write it out from memory. So I've got the different reactants and products here. So can you write that equation out from memory? Excellent, well done. So let's have a look to see if you got it right. So glucose plus oxygen goes to carbon dioxide plus water. Brilliant. And plus energy. And these over here are the reactants, glucose and oxygen. Remember, they're the things that go into the chemical equation. And over on the other side, we've got the products, the things that come out of the chemical equation. Okay, carbon dioxide and water, they're actually waste products. We don't really need to use those. The main product that we want is the energy. So we excrete the carbon dioxide and water. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go through that equation again, and I'm going to ask you to write down the answers to a series of questions. So first of all, we know that one of the reactants is glucose. And it's drawn here as a hexagon because that's the shape. Glucose is a sugar, and that's the shape of the sugar, if you look really closely at it. Okay, so where does the glucose come from? So from respiration, where do humans get the glucose from? Okay, the next question. So the other reactant is oxygen. Where does the oxygen come from? Where do humans get that oxygen from? How do we get that? Try and write with as much detail as you can. Okay, and then one of the products is carbon dioxide. The other product is water. Where does the carbon dioxide go? So remember I said that it's a waste product and it gets excreted, but where? Where does it go? How do we get rid of it? Okay, so answers to those questions then. So the glucose. We get our glucose from sugar, so from food, and some foods we break down into these sugars. So for example, carbohydrates, we digest those, break them down into sugars, use that sugar, use that glucose for respiration. So we get that from our food and we absorb it in the small intestine. The oxygen we get from the air when we breathe in, and it diffuses. Remember that was the first do it now question. That diffuses from the alveoli into our lungs into the bloodstream, and then it goes to all the cells in the body for them to use for respiration. The carbon dioxide. Where's my PowerPoint frozen? Oh, there we go. We get rid of the carbon dioxide and the water by breathing them out. So when you breathe out, the air that you breathe out has a much higher concentration of carbon dioxide, and that's because it is a waste product of respiration. We also breathe out some of the water, which is the waste product of respiration. And you can see this. If you breathe on your hand for a long time, you can feel that your hand starts to become damp. So that's that waste product water. Okay, and energy is the other product, and we use the energy for everything that we do. Well done. So we are now going to, I'll just move myself up there. We are now going to have a look at an investigation into respiration. Now, rather than fit some equipment onto us humans, that'd be quite difficult. We need face masks. There'd be some, technical issues, some safety issues. So rather than do that, we use really, really small organisms. So like woodlice, for example. What we do is we put them inside a tube like this, and we put soda lime into the tube. Now what the soda lime does is it absorbs the carbon dioxide waste product. Okay, so that soda lime is there to absorb carbon dioxide. We fit a capillary tube and a bung, so there's a bung there so that no gases can go in and out of the tube. And then there's a capillary tube, and it has a scale on it. It has a coloured liquid somewhere along it, and it has a scale. So what will happen, hopefully, is when oxygen is used up in respiration by the little organisms that are in this tube, the oxygen in the capillary tube will reduce, so the coloured liquid should move along the scale. So that's what you are looking for. And I apologise that I can't show you, we can't show you this in a lab or something a little bit easier, but I have found a video that demonstrates it. So I can show that. So this is the video of somebody carrying out this respiration investigation. Okay, and they are using wood lice, so that's the example that I gave, and inside their tube they have got the soda lime to absorb the carbon dioxide waste product. They've got cotton wool to just keep the wood lice inside, and they have got a bung to stop any gases escaping. And what they're going to be looking for is how much oxygen is used up during respiration. Okay, so I'll play the video so that you can have a look at the way she set up the investigation and how she measures the use of oxygen.
So as we said before, we've got soda lime at the bottom of our boiling tube. The job of soda lime is to absorb any CO2 that's being produced by our wood lice. Okay, so that means that the wood lice, whatever gas the wood lice is producing, that's more than what they are actually respiring in, is actually going to be absorbed by the soda lime. So what's going to happen along here is this red section, this red fluid in our respirometer is actually going to move according to how much oxygen our wood lice actually breathe in and then use for respiration. So what will happen is this red line, or this point of this red line, will actually move towards our boiling tube with our wood lice as they use the oxygen and remove it from the tube. So Mr. Ryan, could you please read for me the start value of our number?
So it's about 141 millimetres.
So we're at 141 millimetres. We need to note that down in our results table. We start with our start number, and then we're going to start the stop clock. And we hold the stop clock, we wait for the stop clock for 5 minutes. So we've now got to 5 minutes exactly. We're going to have a look and see where our red line has moved to. Where has it gone to, Mr. Ryan?
So we're just at 130 millimetres now.
130, and it started at?
141.
So the total distance that our red line has moved is?
11 millimetres.
Very.
Okay, so you could see there the teacher demonstrating how to carry out this investigation. So I've got a few questions here for you, which I'd like you to have a read through and then have a go at answering them over the next couple of minutes. All right, so what was the independent variable in the investigation? Remember, the independent variable is the thing that you are changing. Okay, or the thing that you have changed. What's the dependent variable? So the dependent variable is the thing that you are measuring. State one control variable, so something that you'd need to keep the same to make it a fair test. What gas are the wood lice using up, and what gas are they producing? Okay, so if you'd like to pause the video now and have a go at answering those questions, please. Well done, excellent. So, number one, the independent variable. So, like I said, the independent variable is the thing that you are changing in the investigation. And this is just, it's not an investigation with a range of results. It's just seeing one thing. So I would say that the independent variable is having the wood lice in the tube, okay? The dependent variable, the thing that you are measuring, is the volume of oxygen inside that capillary tube here. So the volume of oxygen inside the tube, or the volume of oxygen being removed from the tube. So that's the dependent variable. That's the thing that you are measuring. A control variable, so something that you would need to keep the same. So I would say the same amount of soda lime inside the boiling tube, the same number of wood lice, the same species of wood lice. I would say the same amount of oxygen in the boiling tube to start with. Any of those things, if you were going to make a bigger investigation about this, you would need to keep those things the same to make it a fair test. And we call those control variables. What gas are the wood lice using up? They are using up oxygen for respiration. And which gas are they producing? They're producing carbon dioxide, which is the waste product of respiration. However, that carbon dioxide is being absorbed by the soda lime here. That's the purpose of the soda lime. Okay, well done. So, a few little practice questions, just a bit of a pause and a couple of practice questions. Number 3 is a bit tricky unless you've got some good chemistry knowledge. So don't worry if number 3 is a bit tricky for you, just have a go. All right, we're near the end of the lesson, so just pause the video now and have a go at these 4 questions, please. Well done. So where does respiration take place? It takes place inside the cells, inside those tiny organelles called mitochondria. Name 2 products of respiration: water, carbon dioxide. Is respiration endothermic or exothermic? So an endothermic reaction, you might know this from chemistry, but you might not. An endothermic reaction is a reaction that takes in energy. So it would take in energy, and an exothermic is a reaction that gives out energy. And because respiration is releasing energy, we call it exothermic. And how does oxygen move from the lungs to the blood? Via diffusion. All right. Okay. So what I would like you to do is answer this 6-mark question. So explain aerobic respiration. So aerobic means respiration with oxygen. I'd like you to reference the equation. So write down the equation, explain what the reactants and products are, explain where respiration happens, and explain how we get the reactants and what happens to the product. So in absolutely as much detail as you can, using everything that we've learned today, I'd like you to explain aerobic respiration. All right, and this question is going to be put up on Shobi, so www.shobi.com. So if you'd like to submit your answer there so that a teacher can mark it, that would be fantastic. All right, so that's the end of today's lesson. Hope you have a lovely week, and I'll see you soon.